Have you ever seen a team argue for 45 minutes about something which Scrum was supposed to make simple? Not because people are bad at Scrum, but because the guide is minimal and modern product work is not. The Scrum Guide was first published in autumn of 2009. And for a long time, it was updated roughly every 3 years. And that guide shaped an entire generation of teams. But after the 2020 version, 5 years passed. And in those 5 years, the world changed fast. Remote work, product discovery, engineering practices, and of course, AI. John Coleman and we worked on the Scrum.org Hexes for Dave Snowden. And while we did that, we started to feel something really clearly. The Scrum Guide isn't wrong, but it is so terse that it creates predictable misunderstandings, especially in today's context. And also, it started to feel dated. As a trainer, you develop pattern recognition. Every class, the same questions. What is the difference between product and increment? What is the difference between definition of done and acceptance criteria? What does a developer really mean? Is it always a programmer? What is an outcome exactly if it is so important? But here's a bigger one. The 2020 Scrum Guide can be read in a way that Scrum turns into a feature factory. As if Scrum is mainly about pumping out features sprint after sprint. And that's totally wrong. And it's a big problem. Because Scrum is meant to help people solve real customer problems. Outcomes over output, not just ship more stuff. And then there's another weird thing. In the 2020 Scrum Guide, the word stakeholder is mentioned 13 times, but it is never clearly defined. So teams guess, and when teams guess, politics grow, alignment drops, and Scrum becomes local, optimized inside a bigger organizational mess. But because Scrum cannot live in isolation, it needs supporters across the large organization. Leadership, strategy, funding, governance, HR, architecture, compliance, whatever your world looks like. John and I originally thought maybe we help update the Scrum Guide, just a few pages longer, explain the misunderstanding once and properly. So we did that and reached out to Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland. But changing the Scrum Guide requires both authors. And that didn't happen. So John, Jeff, and I joined forces and we turned our work into something new, the Scrum Guide Expansion Pack, SGEP for short. We had our first release on June 11th, 25, and it landed really well. People told us it helped them finally get it. But we also got another fair feedback. It's too long. So we changed the structure. One core document and then separate expansions. And you can use them wherever you need them. Let me quickly walk you through the SGEP collection, what it is, and who contributed. So the Scrum Guide Expanded was written by me, Ralph Jocham, John Coleman, and Jeff Sutherland. This is the core. It keeps Scrum minimal, but explains the things people constantly misunderstand. And also it puts modern emphasis where it belongs. Product thinking, outcomes, real value. Then the first expansion, product thinking, written by Magdalena Furlet, Jeff Patton, and Ralph Jocham. This is the big counterweight to the feature factory interpretation. It's about building the right thing, not just building things right. Discovery, learning, outcomes, product thinking is much more emphasized here. Complexity, John Coleman and Ralph Jocham. Now, complexity is now its own extension. We explained complexity very detailed in the first release of the SGEP. But we believe real world is so complex that it deserves its own expansions. Often what we see is that cause and effect isn't obvious and best practices don't magically apply. Now this helps teams to stop pretending everything is predictable and get an understanding about what complexity really means. Adaptive executive, John Coleman, and I helped John Coleman with that. Scrum needs leadership that enables fast learning and decision making. Scrum doesn't live in isolation. Now, this extension is about how leaders or supporters, how we call them, can support agility without controlling it to death. Strategy by Carl Scotland. Scrum teams can't guess strategy, they need it. And this connects Scrum to the bigger why side. Some teams don't just deliver, they deliver the right outcomes, predictable again and again. Operating model as a leadership decision, written by Martin Hinshelwood with support by John Coleman and Ralph Jocham. This is a key point. Again, Scrum cannot live in isolation, and the operating model, your operating model of your organization, basically describes how decision, funding, governance, and coordination of work happens. And either if this is in alignment with Scrum or whether it suffocates it. Multi-team Scrum by John Coleman and Ralph Jocham. Now, when more than one teams are working on the same product, things get tricky fast. Now, this document, this expansion helps you to scale collaboration without creating a coordination nightmare. Software Engineering Practices by Dave Farley. Scrum doesn't magically create quality. This is about the engineering practices that make fast, safe delivery of software possible. And this is a core capability you need. Holistic Testing by Lisa Crispin with support of Janet Gregory. Testing isn't a phase. It is part of building quality in every day. This extension makes quality real, not a slogan. Combine right side and left side quality thinking. Then we have also Psychological Safety in Scrum by Joanna Plaskonka. Empiricism requires truth, and truth requires safety. This extension is about creating the conditions where teams can actually inspect and adapt as intended, honestly. It's all about building trust. And last, AI in Scrum by Jeff Sutherland and Ralph Jocham. AI changes speed. There's no question about that. It changes discovery, delivery, and decision making. This extension helps teams use AI responsibly without breaking Scrum's foundations. Putting all together, the SGEP is on its way to describing something bigger than how to run sprints. It's moving forward toward an operating model of the modern world of product. Outcomes over output, product thinking over feature factory. Now, Scrum supported by leadership, strategy, engineering, quality, and the wider organization. The SGEP is a comprehensive compilation of expert knowledge built with the community. And we are not done. We will keep the SGEP updated, and we will keep it open for new expansion as the world changes. For all documents and detailed information, go there.